Welcome back to Amazing Chest. I'm on a quest to beat Elden Ring, playing as every single boss, and if that sounds like fun to you, then go ahead and subscribe because YouTube doesn't always recommend. The rules of this challenge are simple. If I beat a boss, then I'm forced to become it. I must then use that boss to defeat the next boss, and that cycle will continue until we've defeated the Elden Beast. The first boss on our list was Margit. Obviously, we don't start off as a boss, so we had to use a player for this one, but contrary to popular belief, I actually have played this game normally. If you guys haven't seen the last episode, we just did the exact same thing in Dark Souls 1, so check that video out if you haven't already. But now that we're playing as Margit, the plan was simple. We need to beat Godric and get the first Great Rune, and this challenge is interesting because usually the boss you're playing as first is weaker than the boss after it. This means that we'll be at a disadvantage for most of the fights, but by the end of this video, and depending on the path we take, we're actually going to be playing as some of the strongest bosses in the main game. Let's get into it. This fight was terrible for Margit. Godric is 40% resistant to Holy, and he has way more health than we do. We had to play it safe and back off after every combo, but even with half of our attacks doing barely any damage, we did get him into phase 2. In phase 2, his moveset is all physical and fire, and we were dying faster than he was. I went all in with a full combo and then backed off before he could hit us. Our overhead slam broke his stance and he went for his fire tornado, but our hammer jump dodged the entire thing. One more stance break, and Godric was done. With Godric defeated, we can now control him, and our next target was Renala at the Academy. Compared to Margit, controlling this guy was like night and day. Godric is slow and his hitbox is enormous, so he probably didn't stand a chance against Renala, but we weren't going to be fighting her as Godric anyway. And that's because there's another boss we have to beat before we can reach her. Getting through Liurnia was taking forever, so we started rolling down the slopes. Eventually we made it through the fog and reached the Academy Gate town. We talked to some Albinarics about the wonders of grafting, then headed to Smaragd's lair to grab the glintstone key. Trying to hide as a 900-pound Godric wasn't going well at all, so we just grabbed the key and got out of there as soon as possible. Before we could fight Renala, we had to get through her guard dog first. The Red Wolf was left behind by her ex-husband after he stepped out to get some milk, and now it just hangs out in the parlor killing anyone who walks in. With our poise, he wouldn't be able to stagger us, and our fire attacks should shred his tiny health bar. At 50% health, Godric stops to cut his arm off and graft the dragon head. The animation does raise our defenses, but it locks us in place for way too long, and we actually got torn apart by some scholars in the hallway because of it. Hopefully the boss fight would be better. We opened up with a Stormcaller and went straight into the follow-up. He got hit with both the axe and the wind for some huge damage, but then dodged our slam and broke our stance, which forced the transition. All we could do now was watch and hope the damage reduction would be enough, and it was. One more hit brought the wolf down, and we barely escaped that one with our life. Now we were playing as the wolf, and the fight against Renala would be a gamble. Phase 1 would be like punching a baby, but phase 2 would be like dealing with its mother. This fight was going to be extremely close, but first, this video is brought to you by Infinity Nikki. Version 2.1 just launched and it's called Life as a Poem. The main storyline this time is presented in an interlude style. The new story follows Nikki as she meets an aging frostbow behemoth nearing the end of its life. A young behemoth comes running out of the forest asking for help, and what follows is this heartfelt narrative about legacy and hope. Even as one life fades, another begins. It's surprisingly touching for a dress-up game. The update also brings new gameplay with a Behemoth Guardian project. You name the baby behemoth, take care of its needs, raise its attributes, and watch it grow over time. At the end of each cycle, depending on which attributes have been developed, players can choose to continue caring for it or let it live independently. This update to the homestead system introduces a new healthy diet, new slow feeding mode for animals, and a new dessert category for animal food. Animal food obtained through cooking can be used to settle rewards in the Animal Idol gameplay system. There's a new 5-star outfit too, Forest Ripple. It has this firefly look and comes with 2 abilities. One lets Nikki float through the air and reset all nearby plant nodes, and the other collects everything in range automatically. If you played this game before, then you know how nice that is. Infinity Nikki is free to play on PS5, PC, Steam, and mobile. It has 20 million downloads, an 80 on Metacritic, and a 90 from IGN. Use the link in my description and pin comment to download it today. Let's get back into the video. The Red Wolf has glass bones and paper skin, and Renala loves to spam magic, so we had to stay aggressive and shut her down before she could get the ball rolling. Our speed let us zip through the courtyard, and we fought Moongrim on the way to the elevator. The fight felt cramped, but Renala's arena is huge by comparison, so we were going to have a lot of room to move around. We ran in and immediately started phasing through bookshelves. Once Renala fell to the ground, all of our attacks whiffed, even though we were point blank and locked on, and then a chandelier landed on us. On the next attempt, we learned to stay back and our sword combos finally connected. Once phase 2 started, we turned the aggression up to 11 and slammed Renala before she could even cast Comet Azure. She put up a wall of magic, but we squeezed through with lunges and back hops, and if you played a ranged character against this boss, then you know how annoying he can be. We stance broke her with a double spin and then got off a full combo. After a few more lunges, Renala finally went down. After a brief chat with myself, it was time to leave Liurnia. We had 2 great runes now, which meant we could enter Leyndell, but first we needed to grab the medallion halves from Fort Height and Fort Ferreth. Once we had those, we made our way into Caelid, and rather than going straight to Altus, this is where I decided to change things up. Renala was not going to be able to make it into the capital. She's way too squishy and the scaling there is way too high. She does have the tools to beat Radahn though. Between her long range magic and poise damage, she should be able to keep him at bay. If he closed the gap though, then it would be over instantly. We started running the Red Main Castle, and Renala's running animation is kind of adorable. She looks like a mom who's lost her kid at the mall. On the way to the bridge, a Lion Guardian ambushed us, but a laser and some missiles calmed him right down. Radahn must have known that a ranged battle would not be in his favor. Either that or he really missed his mom, because he immediately charged at us. We started throwing missiles and used our back hop to create distance, and we had enough time for Comet Azure, but I accidentally casted the wrong version. I'm pretty sure this move is cut content, but let me know if you guys have ever seen it before. Using it gave Radahn time to buff himself with Cragblade, and then we were able to cast Comet Azure for real this time. That's when Radahn took to the skies and we ran to dodge his meteor, and while he buffed up some more, we cast Renala's moon to weaken his magic resistance. As a result, the next few spells hit him really hard, then he caught us during a back hop and almost killed her. The homing missile saved us though, and we managed to unlock Radahn. It's been a while since we played as Radahn. I think the last time was when we died to Loretta trying to get the Melania rematch. Sorry about that. His speed was definitely going to come in handy for getting through the outskirts and making it to the Sentinel. Radahn is a powerhouse, but his health is surprisingly low. I guess it makes sense considering the fact that he's a mid-game boss and he's been withering away from Scarlet Rot, so we wouldn't survive a drawn-out fight with the Sentinel, but I did have a plan. We destroyed the Gargoyle on the way, buffed ourselves with Cragblade, and greeted Margit's ghost with Starcaller Cry. The Golem Archer started firing at us, but our trusty steed Leonard is faster than he looks. We dodged a few shots and took out the first Golem before shredding the second one. After making it to the Sentinel, we started the fight by summoning some meteors. A quick combo closed the gap and dealt some solid damage, but he circled behind us during Starcaller Cry. Just like a player would, we backed off and came back in with a jump attack, and then he went into phase 2. When he threw down his lightning field, we corkscrewed right through it, and that gave us everything we needed to finish the fight with our meteors. With that, the gate to Leyndell was open, and we've accomplished a lot so far. We've worked our way all the way up from Margit to Radahn, and now we're playing as the Draconic Tree Sentinel. Reaching the Elden Throne meant going through Morgott, but Godfrey was still standing in the way. On one hand, he's weak to lightning, so a lightning buff Sentinel could probably shred him, but on the other hand, Godfrey is a stance-breaking merchant. On top of that, the Sentinel can get flinched out of attacks pretty easily, and with only 80 poise, there's a good chance that we don't get to play the game at all. We made our way through the capital, and our damage output absolutely destroyed the Erdtree Avatar. We galloped past the sleeping guardians on the branches and made our way into Godfrey's arena. This fight was extremely close. When this one started, Actually, yeah, we didn't need to overthink that one. 3 hits and Godfrey was gone. Alright, that might have been one of the most one-sided fights in this entire series, but don't be fooled because Godfrey is an S-tier boss, and you're about to see exactly why. We charged at Morgott with an uppercut, and even though the follow-up missed, the dash triggered an earthquake that staggered him anyway. Godfrey's holy resistance let us ignore the sword rain completely, and we were able to keep the pressure on as he entered phase 2. Another uppercut staggered Morgott out of his blood blade, and our dashes made sure he couldn't get away. This time, it was Morgott who didn't get to play the game. Compared to Godfrey, his son is a glass cannon, and we might as well change our name to David because we were up against Goliath. This was going to be rough. Stat-wise, Morgott is criminally underleveled for this point of the game. It'd be a miracle if we survived even one hit from the fire giant, and this fight was going to come down to whether or not we could outmaneuver him. When the giant charged at us, we dashed under him with Morgott's hammer spin. We slipped behind him, chipped away at his ankle splint, and then he staggered. A few more swings from our holy spear, and he ran off to power up his hand with fire. A spear throw closed the distance instantly, but we had to run away from his fire pillars. We popped his floating fireball so it wouldn't get in the way, and then he slammed us with his plate. Thankfully, he was too slow to follow up though, and a few more hits on his weak foot finally pushed him into phase 2. That's when he did his firestorm, and then he did it again. By this point, we were at 1 HP and meteors were falling everywhere. All we could do was dash and pray. Somehow we survived, and I started throwing out sword rains left and right. Every time we got in close, he rolled away, and the moment we landed a blood flame combo, he called in more meteors to push us back. We got stuck on a rock and projectiles were flying everywhere, but we got him low and even staggered his phase 2, which almost never happens. That's when he used his flamethrower, but Morgott is so fast that we were able to dodge it, and after a 10-minute long fight, we finally came out on top. Getting through Farum Azula as the fire giant was interesting. We barely fit anywhere, but our ridiculous size let us reenact the first episode of Attack on Titan. Our goal now was to beat the Godskin duo so we could reach Malekith and unlock the Rune of Death. This fight is a clown show normally, but this time it was going to be an entire circus. The fire giant could barely fit in their room, so dodging was out of the question, and we needed to take them down as soon as possible before their black flame ate through our health bar. When this one started, a single combo staggered both of them, and not even 15 seconds in, they were already going into phase 2. This would usually be a problem because of the noble's rolling attack, but this time we had a rolling attack too. Ours has a continuous hitbox as well, and since we got stuck on the walls, we crushed both of them for almost 1500 damage every time. While they were respawning, we set up a Fell God Fireball and followed it with a Firestorm. They got lucky and only ate one pillar each, and our health bar was melting under the Black Flame. Another roll evened it out though, and one more Firestorm finished the job. With the Godskins under our control, we made our way to the Great Bridge to challenge Malekith. Beating him would unleash the Rune of Death and burn the Erdtree completely. From there, we could reach the stone platform where the final boss was waiting for us and finally complete this challenge. Malekith and the Godskins have some history. He wiped out our entire order back in the day when he was just a young pup, and that was without the Rune of Death. Now that he has it, this wasn't going to be easy. He is a glass cannon though, and my plan for this fight was to do what the Godskins do best, and gank him. I'm not proud of it, but you gotta do what you gotta do. We let the Apostle take his attention first. Friendly fire was on, so we had to be careful with our attacks. While the clergyman was busy, we hit him from behind and staggered him. The Apostle joined in, and that's when Malekith revealed himself. Phase 2 started off strong, with the Apostle ducking Malekith's slam, but the follow-up Destined Death caught both of us. The Apostle transformed, and then Malekith killed us, and now it was just us. We tried to back hop away from his combo, but the Noble's hops barely go anywhere at all, and Malekith was having a field day. We took over 5,000 damage and hid behind a pillar, spamming Black Flame, hoping he'd walk into it and die, but we were the ones who ended up dying instead. On the second attempt, we baited Malekith's jump explosion and tanked his Destined Death. The Apostle slashed us for 1,000 damage, and then Malekith turned on him and killed him mid-tornado. His sacrifice gave us exactly what we needed though, and now that we were in phase 2, that meant we could finish the fight with the Noble's roll. We haven't played as Malekith since we first started playing as bosses back in 2023. Can't believe it's been that long. With his legendary return, the goal now was to take out Gideon and Godfrey. They were the only thing standing between us and the Erdtree. We interrupted Gideon's speech with a Destined Death to the face and then sent him flying with a double spin. He ran under the balcony to heal, and by some crazy stroke of luck, HP reduction wore off right before it killed him. His flask actually went through though. He was stuck hiding under the balcony like a caged animal, which is pretty ironic considering the situation. You can't escape death though, and eventually Gideon went down too. Godfrey was up next, and since Gideon is basically just another player, we were going to be sticking as Malekith for this fight. His damage and poise would tear Malekith apart if we got close, but his arena is so big that we could use his mobility to stay on the move. Fun fact, Godfrey's first phase is completely immune to Destined Death. Whether that's intended or Godfrey's just built different, the world may never know. It didn't matter though, because the raw damage from our sword was still enough to shred him. He ripped off his cape, and now we were fighting Hoarah. He dodged our Destined Death with a grab and then hit us with his stomp. We ran from his earthquake explosion because that definitely would have killed us. We went for a sweeping combo, and even though our overhead slam missed, Hoarah died before he could even finish his transformation. Since Hoarah was technically the last boss that we beat, we now had to use him to take down Radagon. When Godfrey ripped off his armor, his defenses took a hit, but he's just too angry to care. This fight was the battle of the baby daddies. Both of them were married to Marika at some point, so this fight was likely personal. After a few stomps, Radagon went for his phase 2 slam, and we shrugged it off thanks to our holy resistance. An uppercut staggered Radagon again, and he teleported away, but not far enough. He did manage to stagger us before we could finish him off, but our Earthshaker delivered the final blow. Despite our differences, Godfrey passed the baton to Radagon. With the odds stacked against us, let's see if he has what it takes to free himself from the Elden Beast and repair the Elden Ring. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, then like the video, and don't forget to subscribe because YouTube doesn't always recommend.
Bye-bye.